It's I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. It's 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles. Tuesday, the Hake next. Boom. The 13th of May, AD 2025. Thank you, Jesse Lee Peterson, for the redirect on YouTube. For the raid on Rumble. What's up, Persian Cucumber? And Son of Liberty LGB, Pastor Chatelet, helping to make it happen. Yeah, I'm live on pilled.net/The Hake Report. Very cool. Oops, I touched the mic. Very unprofessional. Let me bring it towards me. That's better. You can call in 1-888-775-3773. Jesse, forgot it? Never mind. It's all right. Some serious mess going on in the world. Watch out, you flying people, because the flights are going to be delayed and messy. It's the Roman Empire crumbling in America. It's terrible. By that I mean it is incompetence, corruption, sickness, diversity, not in a good way, and death will be following everywhere, and it's no good. It's terrible. Good morning, guys. Lin Yen Chin, Carver, Kevin, and Albert, Aussie Lisa. Hey, good morning to you. Is it morning, but tomorrow morning for you if you're in Australia? Mess going on in the world. I can't believe it, but I also can't believe that Trump is president. Shout out to our greatest president, Trump. And shout out to Mark yesterday. We talked about the South African refugees who are now here in America, a few of them. 59 selected and brought here in an orderly way. I will be reading your super chats. I have apparently I haven't been totally clear, because there's this super chatter whom I tend to think is not completely obtuse, who thinks that a coffee giver, who thinks that I call the refugees illegals. What? I call illegals illegals. People cross here illegally, and then they present themselves and plead asylum. And so they call it, rather than illegals, they call them asylum seekers. Well, so the liberals have muddied the waters, and Hake has not helped clarify the situation. So perhaps I can answer a super chat today that can clarify the situation, that these illegals are by way of NGOs and lawyer liars and, in my opinion, corrupt judges, liberal lamos, softies, including rhinos, Republican judges, so-called. They are gaming the system and pretending like they're...
Yeah, you can buy a computer.
Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second.
Thank you.
Just had to do a favor for the boss, the host, the chief of the network. He left his computer, if you will, on the desk here, the host's desk. But they're gaming the system. It's ridiculous. So I will address that super chat, the coffee from you can do buymeacoffee.com/ the Hake Report. Buymeacoffee.com/ the Hake Report. And you too can get your comments read on air. I do sometimes read the chat. You know what I mean? And also, yes, Hake leading the war on softies. An anti-softy. You know how Anchor Baby is an anti-Anchor Baby? Pulling up the ladder? Well, I'm pulling up the ladder on the softies. As Obama said, I'm a softy. Stuff chokes me up very easily. He cries easily. And his wife is like, what a mess. What a mess. So, yeah, refugees, illegals are not refugees. They want to play like they're refugees. In the refugee resettlement program, we had at the tip of a listener, a faithful, longtime listener and supporter. JLP interviewed when I was producer a couple of times, this gal named Ann Corcoran, A-N-N, no E at the end. Corcoran, I think C-O-R-C-O-R-A-N. C-O-R-C-O-R-A-N. Her Refugee Resettlement Watch website was, I think, shut down summarily by the WordPress or somebody, I don't know. And then she got it started again, but she hasn't been active for a few years now. You know, she's an older lady, probably a boomer. But she was exposing the refugee resettlement scam. It was basically redistribution of POCs from the world into many, in some cases, white conservative communities to undermine those communities and change those communities, just like South Africa is changing for the worst, meaning liberal, communist, whatever, anti-white. Anti-white is partly because the whites tend to be a little bit more Christian, more freedom-loving, less oppressive government supporting. But the minorities love their oppressive governments. They love their socialism. They love their free stuff. They love corruption and hookups and getting away with evil. So refugees and corruption, all refugees are not the same. Hey, I thought you were against refugees. Well, I'm not against the South African refugees. Anti-white is communism. Hate, says somebody. And you can call in as well, 1-888-775-3773. I mentioned buy me a coffee. But if you go to thehakereport.com, there's all the different ways, I think, that you can support. And I was remiss in reading a CashApp. And in fact, let me read that now, because yesterday it came in from Tim Scott, the real one. Not to be confused with the rhino Tim Scott. All Republicans are not the same. Hake doesn't know anime. Robot emoji. That's true, I don't. I've learned a little bit more from, inadvertently, maybe Lin Yan Chin. For some reason, blacks are into anime. And also a little bit from Anchor Baby and you guys. I never knew. I knew a little bit about Robotech, but I don't know if that's anime. From an older friend from high school would watch Robotech. But other than that, no, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? Jelly bean? Oh, nice. I just noticed the coloring is a little bit different on my camera because we swapped the camera. Nice. Exciting. Sweet. I like this coloring still. What's up, Mikey Baseball 93 over on pilled.net/The Hake Report. I'm live on BitChute as well, bitchute.com/The Hake Report. So that was on Cash App. James Anton Hake on Cash App. That I don't know anime. I don't. And I wonder if the real Tim Scott, not to be confused with the rhino, knows anime. He is black, I think. Not the docs. And what's up, Beta Legs, as well? I neglected to read your diamond saying, thanks for reading my chat. Hake, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. So, oh, man, so much to do. So much to, for which to get ready. Let's see if I know what I'm doing over here. I've been rambling. Normally, I like to ramble while getting ready, but I forgot to get ready. while rambling. It's a mess. And I have calls to get to 1-888-775-3773 and tons of news, actually. Days and days worth of news that I haven't touched. Because I want to talk to you guys too. You know? But, anyway, guys. Let's just get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. You like my Zion t-shirt? It says Zion at the bottom, because I'm a Zionist. Come at me, haters. It's a black t-shirt with a black sun. Is it satanic? I don't know. I think it's Mormon, actually. Because the Mormons made Zion. The Mormons are Zionists too. They think that Zion is in America. And it is. Zion is a national park in Utah. And I won't tell you where I got this t-shirt. I won't tell you that it's a 100% cotton, slightly oddly fitting, but I like it still. Size medium t-shirt from Target. But let me just prove it to you by going over to the internet. Zion, Utah? I think it's Utah, right? Am I making all of this up? Zion National Park, so beautiful. National Park in Utah, and that's in America. 61 degrees over there today. Pretty cool. Human History Museum. Zion National Park. Gaze up at massive sandstone cliffs of cream, pink, and red that soar into a brilliant blue sky. Experience the tall, stretching walls of a... Whoa. Nice. The tall, stretching walls of a narrow slot canyon. Zion's unique array of plants and animals will enchant you, the land of milk and honey. As you absorb the rich history of the past and enjoy the excitement of present-day adventures. You can take a shuttle. Doesn't that look beautiful? I've never been. Look, they have a female ranger gal helping a Gen Xer. Shout out. People are camping in this area. Look at these in the world. Let me close the find thing. Look at that area. That's even nicer, arguably, in some ways, than San Onofre, California. More impressive, anyway, in terms, more awesome. So, it's not a Zionist pro-Israel t-shirt. Look, they have another woman. Even the Mormons are all feminist and anti-racist now. What's wrong with the whites? Shout out. Whoa, it even gets snowy a little. Sweet. All right. Anyway. Sweet. By the way, do catch Joel Friday TV. He is going to be live right after Hake. And let me see if I can pull up his show so that I can set the redirect over here. Oh yeah, Richard Ramirez. It's True Crime Tuesday, The Night Walker. Yeah, Richard Ramirez. I've never seen him, but I had never seen him before, but I heard about him. I wonder if I have a picture just to whet, W-H-E-T, your palate for the Joel Friday TV podcast coming up. Let me see if I can. Richard. Nope. I don't know. Here, let me switch to date modified. Man. Let me see if I have it in my screenshots real quick. I didn't know that. Nope. Ramirez. No, I don't have it handy for you. I thought that I had it handy, but he's a mass murderer, serial killer type of a guy. Ooh. So catch that. But anyway, Ronnie in Ohio is on the line over here. Ronnie, thank you for calling, man. And Holden, what's up?
My brother, hey, how you doing today?
Doing fine. How are you?
All is well.
Cool.
Last week, somebody brought up the question of what would happen in America if all the white people left.
Yeah, that was the other week. Anyway, I don't remember how long ago that was.
Yeah, it's been going on. It's kind of been a reoccurring theme.
Yep.
But the last time it was brought up, you said that it's obvious what would happen. So I was calling to see if you could enlighten me on what you think will happen.
It would be a mess. It's obvious that it would be a mess if the whites were to disappear from America in any form. And you can kind of see it happening right now because whites are disappearing. In many senses, they're disappearing. And as they're disappearing, the country's falling apart. The air flight traffic control and planes are experiencing problems that they shouldn't be experiencing. It's ridiculous. The corruption and unfairness and injustice in the courts against enforcing the laws, the anti-racism, it's ridiculous.
I'm still waiting on you to get to the part on how you know it would be a mess if all white people left.
So you didn't just hear me?
I heard what you said, but it was trying to think of how to. It was a lot of fluff, not a lot of substance in what you just said.
So you think that you think that what's going on in America with the flights falling apart and the anti-white, anti-racism thing, that's fluff? It's meaningless to you?
Say that one more time.
When I say that America is becoming anti-white and incompetent and corrupt, that's fluff?
Anti-white, incompetent, and corrupt?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with how America would look if white people were to leave, as proposed by Alex's question?
Because that's what's already happening as whites are leaving. Whites are disappearing, and this is what's happening.
That's not true. When you say whites are disappearing, I don't think I agree with you there.
Oh yeah, they are, man. We're becoming
so that would mean that there's another race that's becoming majority.
Other races, yeah, they're surpassing. They're becoming the plurality. Whites are becoming a mere plurality, and maybe even full blown less than the rest of the races. I think they already are becoming less than the other races.
Now, why
especially
would that
in the
be a
other
problem?
generations. It wouldn't be a problem if the other races had the same mindset as the whites and the same qualification and culture and civilization mindset as the whites, but they don't.
And
you can plainly see
what?
The corruption in the government, the incompetence in the government, the corruption and incompetence in the private sector world, among families, the decreasing birth rates.
Every time you mention the corruption in the government,
yeah,
incompetence, are you saying that that's not white people that are failing?
It's whites failing too. Yeah, definitely. Whites are disappearing.
I don't mean by that. I mean, are they included when you say corruption in the government or incompetence in the government?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I'm still asking the question of what will happen.
But you said that it's fluff that you said that it's fluff that, for example, the air flight industry, airline industry is having problems that it shouldn't be having. And you said it's fluff that the world is more anti-white.
The world is anti-white.
Yeah.
I don't even understand how somebody draws that I do understand how somebody draws that conclusion.
And why does somebody draw that conclusion?
They're looking at the wrong pieces of data and they're being emotional about that data, and then they're jumping to conclusions that are wrong.
So what data are we looking at when we say that the world is anti-white?
You tell me.
But so you do understand it or you don't understand it?
I don't. When you say that the world is anti-white, I'm trying to think of where that might be happening, and is it a widespread problem, or are you hyper-focused, like Mark from Los Angeles sometimes is hyper-focused on Haiti?
On Haiti?
And if you hyper-focused on Haiti, yeah, not hating.
Right,
well,
Haiti.
I mean, one could say that, but
right.
the nation and the history of what's happened there, he'll be hyper-focused on that, and then that will lead to him drawing other conclusions that are wrong.
No,
but he'll hypothesize about what might happen here in America, and it's like that's a really big jump.
No, you're not,
because he's hyper focused on the wrong part of the data. So if somebody says that the world is anti-white,
he's not getting it from Haiti.
What they're looking at.
He's not getting it from Haiti. He's getting it from what's happening here.
Okay, so it's somebody that said the world is becoming more anti-white. Could you please show me some examples of the world being anti-white? Obviously not going in on Haiti because Mark has that base covered.
Derek Chauvin. What happened to Derek Chauvin was an example of the world being anti-white.
What happened to Derek Chauvin?
Yeah, that was a big, obvious thing. In a
nutshell, what happened to Derek Chauvin that makes it anti-white?
It was a miscarriage of justice. It was the world rioted and the world looked away from the riots and even supported them. And they did a kangaroo court on Derek Chauvin and accused him and convicted him of murder, of all things, because he's white. So he was mistreated and he was given injustice through the court system because he's white? Yes.
Okay, so when that has happened to black people, is that an example of the world being anti-black?
I don't know what you're talking about. Can you just stay with the topic?
I'm just asking. Yeah, that's literally just a yes or no question. If the same thing happened, if a black person is mistreated and given injustice because of them being black, is that also an example of the world being anti-black? That's just yes or no, and then you can keep going.
I don't know because you're talking about an if. I can't answer on an if.
You don't think that there have been black people that have been mistreated by the justice system because they're black?
I don't know.
Cool.
But can you stay on topic?
That proves the point that you're hyper-focused on the wrong data. If the data that you're looking at hasn't shown you that's happened, you're looking at bad data is what I would say.
No, but that
explains why you're drawing some weird conclusions.
You think it's weird to realize that the world is anti-white? You can't all you keep on doing is saying, is it happening to blacks too, to try to test me, but you're deviating from the topic.
No, I didn't ask if it was happening to black people. I told you that it has, and I was
you didn't.
if that would also. I was asking if that would also be an example of the world being anti-black, and you said you don't know.
You didn't tell me that it has. You said if it happened.
I said if I have to explain it to you, that just shows that you're looking at bad data, and that's also okay. That's the root of the problem.
What problem?
That's led you to drawing the weird conclusion that America would be, I forget what you said, what happened if all white people left. I forget how you categorize it, and I don't want to misquote you.
That doesn't make sense. You're bringing up one supposed wrong to claim that another one has been debunked because because according to you, I'm looking at bad data. And I
No,
don't really want to
no,
talk
that's-
about
that's-
blacks. I want to talk about the situation at hand.
The way we got here is when I said I don't know how somebody would draw that weird conclusion,
But you-
and then I said,
and then you
I
said you
do
did know.
understand. Somebody could be looking at bad data,
Right. And you
and
haven't.
that's how they draw these poor conclusions. And it's clear that you're looking at bad data if you didn't know that there are black people that have been mistreated by the justice system because they're black.
I don't know about that. But that doesn't
Right,
have
which
any.
is-
What does that have to do
That's my entire
with?
point. That's
What
my
does that?
whole point.
But you don't have a point because
I
that
do.
doesn't have anything to do with the
My-
anti-white world right now.
My point is, I understand how you can draw the conclusion that the world is anti-white because the data that you're looking at is insufficient.
How is it insufficient?
I get it now.
How
It's
is it insufficient?
Because you don't know if there are black people in America that have been mistreated and given injustice because they are black.
Can
You
you give
don't
me?
know that, and
can
it's
you give
okay
me?
that you don't know that.
Can you
You
give me
don't
one
know
example?
that because you're not looking at good data, and it's okay.
But you don't know that the world is mistreating whites because you're blind,
I don't call it anti-white or anti-black. You do.
right?
And that's okay. The way that you're looking
So
at
you-
the data
so you
is
acknowledge-
in a way that's
so
going
do
to
you
lead you to
acknowledge that the
drawing
world
poor
is-
conclusions.
Do you acknowledge that the world is anti-good, and that good, some of that good includes what whites are about?
The world is anti-good,
Yeah,
and that includes some of what the whites are about. That's true.
yeah. For example, Derek Chauvin. What happened to Derek Chauvin? He represents authority. He represents men. He represents white law and order. And then the black guy represents victimhood and the fake notion of racism. And so it was an overreaction to the fake notion of racism why they went after Derek Chauvin so badly.
Yep, I'm not here to change your mind on that.
Oh, you don't agree with that?
I'm not here to change your mind on that.
So you don't see that to be true?
I would like to see justice given to the other officers involved before we focus on Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, the other officers definitely shouldn't be. But why them first and not him?
Literally nobody is caping for them. They're just caping for the guy that, and I to this day still haven't watched the video. I refuse. But to just kneel on his neck, not really checking on him, making sure he's still alive, I thought that was at least one of the primary tenets of law, order, protection, and being an authority figure.
Why the others?
But
why
I could
the
be
other
wrong.
cops before Derek Chauvin? I've brought up the situation of the other cops, including like this Asian man who is a Christian, and so it's not true that other people, nobody's talking about them. But why should the other cops get justice first before Derek Chauvin? Why not justice for all?
Okay, real quick, you tried to correct me on saying that nobody's talking about them. I didn't say that. I said nobody's caping for them.
I don't know what
Ben
caping
Shapiro
means.
said that the way Ben Shapiro came out and said that Derek Chauvin needs to be pardoned, nobody's saying let's pardon the other officers that were involved.
Well, that's
that weren't
implied.
directly-
That should be
that weren't-
implied.
That weren't as it's not implied. It needs to be stated.
It's implied, man. It's common sense. If
It's not common sense.
Yes, it is,
Common
man.
sense, and you and I both know that common sense is not common, especially here in America.
I know, but you
Let's
should
be
have
real.
just because other people don't have common sense, you should still.
I do.
How do you figure you have common sense if you don't know that it's implied that if Derek Chauvin should get pardoned, so too should the other officers who were also railroaded?
Just say that. Either say Derek Chauvin and all the officers. All I'm saying is just don't
But
imply
why
it.
is
Make
that
it-
not
make it plain.
why is that not common sense to you?
I don't want to drill down too far on this
Yeah.
because I don't want you to miss the forest.
And since you didn't watch the video, how are you just gonna judge Derek Chauvin based on hearsay?
I'm not judging him based on hearsay. I've still seen the evidence and still read the arguments that were made. My whole point is if you subtract any of the other officers from the situation, it still might result the same way. If you subtract Derek Chauvin, it might be a different result. That's why I'm saying I feel like they should be released before he is.
That's not fair.
That's the only thing I'm saying on that.
Yeah, I think they should. I really believe
I'm trying to see
and
how you
know that it
disagree
should
with
be
me.
because it should be justice for all. And it was quite clear that Derek Chauvin bore the brunt of a situation that was George Floyd's own fault.
And as I said at the start of this whole thing, I'm
Yeah.
not here to change your mind.
Right. But it's interesting that you don't
I'm
want
glad I
justice for all. It's interesting that you have to bring up black victimhood in order
I don't know how you, again, I don't know how
and
you drew
pretend that
conclusion.
white victimhood doesn't exist.
Did you ever hear me say white victimhood doesn't exist?
Yeah, you said the world isn't anti-white because I don't know that the world has been anti-black according to you.
I don't know that I've seen the world be anti-white.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was asking you for a clear example, and you had the only one that you gave me was from 2020.
But you asked me. That's not true. I didn't give you.
Hold on.
It's not true.
And it's a debatable topic.
Right, but it's not.
Even
it's
though
quite clear.
Even though you're rooted on your side of the argument, it's still a debatable topic. So if you're going to make a claim that the world is anti-white, you should have some examples of Argentina, Australia, Asia, Europe. Not just here in America, and not just one from 2020. That's debatable. You should be able to make a stronger argument, James.
But you didn't see that. You don't see all these cries of racism, this anti-whiteness of the whole racism notion.
Cries of racism doesn't equal racism.
Cries of racism are anti-white. Racism doesn't even exist. But cries of racism are anti-white.
Are anti-white.
Yeah.
Cries of racism.
And crying racism is racism if you believe in racism.
I've heard white people claim to be the victims of racism, and I've heard black people claim to be victims of racism. So I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. All right, so are you just stubborn? Or
no,
are you
I really wanted to
playing
understand. I really wanted to just give you a chance to answer the question on why you think America would. Would you say would happen if all the white people left?
Do you see America going down the tubes already as it is?
Do I see America going down the tubes? You would have to show me evidence of that.
So you do not. So no, you do not see America.
There are definitely. Hold on. There are definitely areas where we're struggling, but going down the tubes.
Yeah. And do you see that struggle as part of the decline of white excellence and white dominance? The dominance of white excellence?
If you want to make that argument, you go right ahead.
No, I'm asking if you see that.
The decline of white dominance?
Yeah, white excellence.
You would have to show me the peak of white excellence, and then so that I can compare it to now.
So you can't see for yourself, though.
What was the peak of white excellence?
I don't have a peak. I don't have a peak, but you just don't see it.
If you don't have a peak, how can you have a decline? Come on, Hake.
I don't have to give you a peak. You can either see for yourself, or you can't. I'm not gonna. I'm trying to hold your hand through it, but I try to hold your hand, and you try to
decline, and you won't show me the top.
Every time
you got to show me both the endpoints.
I don't have to show you anything. I don't have to do anything but stay white and hopefully live.
You ain't got to pay taxes. You the man.
You know how you say you not you, but you know how many blacks say, I don't have to do nothing but stay black and die.
Right, and I'm always
and so
there to
I'm
let
like,
them know
I don't have to do
taxes.
anything but stay white and hopefully one day I'll live.
I feel you.
But interesting, man. I think you're more into the black thing than you realize. And that may be what's clouding.
I strongly disagree.
Because I know that you
literally treat people as individuals.
Right. I know that.
Somebody is like me because they're black.
I refuse to see
somebody as an enemy because they're not black.
No, I know that.
That's where Mark and I are inversed. He'll see white people even in South Africa and see them as his brothers. But if he has a neighbor that's black, that guy's already a criminal in his mind. I don't operate like that. I operate the inverse of that.
In terms of how you treat individuals is different from how you see the world. The way that you see the world is slanted by your black brainwashing.
I love how you draw incorrect conclusions based on bad data.
But you
To the
haven't
point
given,
where I won't
you haven't
even
given
stop
me
you. I
an
kind of want you
example.
to keep going.
You haven't
going.
given me an example of me drawing bad conclusions with based on selective data.
You just did.
What?
You said I've been black brainwashed.
Yeah, brainwashed by your blackness.
I don't even know what that means.
Because you remind me of one of my co-hosts, who's like an intellectual, acts like he's fair-minded and objective, which is you. You're intellectual. You act like you're fair-minded and objective, and you're kind and brotherly to me and to Jesse, of course. But you just give little hints that sort of let on that you poo-poo the notion that there's an undue hatred in the dominant culture towards whites, and a quick to dismiss the white plight. Not my plight, but the white plight. The plight of, Darren Wilson, Derek Chauvin, George Zimmerman, white enough to be hated. The people who get discriminated against in the colleges and universities. But that's not even like the real situation. Just the assumption that if a white discriminates or does anything supposedly negative with regard to a black or another POC, that the white is assumed to be racist by so many blacks. And, oh man, what in the world? Oops.
Yep, I'm here.
No, that was somebody else. That was the that was the moderate. That was a boomer over there. A boomer zoomer. Derek says sorry.
Oh, good.
But anyway, I'm being too wordy. Let me break it down.
Go for it.
You're blind on this issue.
I disagree, but okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Tell me why I'm blind. Tell me what I'm not seeing.
You're not seeing proper appreciation for your fellow man.
I don't even understand how you can accuse me of that.
lack proper appreciation for your fellow man.
I don't understand how you can accuse me of that.
Derek Chauvin, like you're kind of just going along with the railroading of him. And I get that you call it debatable, but just because it's debatable doesn't mean that what I'm saying isn't true. And I get if you don't care. I definitely get if you don't care. But you seem to draw a conclusion without knowing.
Move on to a different topic. That was all I was saying. I was like, rather than hunker down and try to because I'm not here to change your mind about it, and I'm just letting you know.
No, I know.
I'm not having an opinion about it.
But you do have an opinion about it.
If that's my thing is, if that's your only example, then I understand why you need me to agree with you. But if it's a worldwide issue,
right,
you should be able to move on and choose a different issue that's not as debatable, where you won't have to waste time trying to change my mind.
But you shouldn't have a made up mind if you don't know, though.
No, I'm always willing to change my mind when presented with the proper evidence.
And my
and
point
I gave you a chance to present me with the proper evidence.
But we're not having a debate.
The only evidence you offered about anti-hate around the world was Derek Chauvin.
I gave you. That's not true. I gave you George Zimmerman.
Better examples.
I gave you George Zimmerman. I gave you the obviously innocent Darren Wilson. I gave you the affirmative action example.
Hold on. The only anti-white examples the only examples you have of anti-white hate is when somebody black is involved and is killed.
No, not necessarily. I said anything negative.
Because that's the only common theme in those first three that you named.
Right, but part of it is I said anytime a white person does something considered to be negative involving a POC, there are people assume that it's racism, and even the media speculates that it could be racism. Part of it may be you don't really listen, but you're too busy like judging and trying to undercut rather than listen and understand.
I'm trying to find spots where we agree.
No, you shouldn't do that. That's your problem.
No, I'm literally trying to find spots where we agree.
Right. But no, that's not a good way to do it.
And the only way I can do that is if I understand that your lens works on all lanes. So when you try to get me to agree with you on something that happens to white people and we try to draw conclusions about it, I am 1,000% willing to agree with you as long as you can say that same litmus test is applicable when the victim or the subject of the story is black.
But why?
That's why when you say
why do
things
you
like,
want to
I don't know,
why?
That's why it's like, okay, it's going to be hard for me to agree with the way that, because it's your argument that you're making and you're trying to see if I agree or disagree. So in order for me to agree, I have to understand your argument fully. So
that's
if you
not
say
a
all those
sensible
words
way
and
of
I still
doing
don't
things,
agree,
though.
I'm allowed to ask a question and get clarification.
I know, but you're asking a question that changes the subject when the subject isn't black victimhood. The subject isn't anti-black incidences. The subject is, does this happen to whites? And it's clear that it happens to whites all the time. Like the whole mainstream media is always speculating if it's a white on black situation, it's racism. If a white person says the N-word to a black person, it's automatically deemed to be racist for some strange reason. And it doesn't make any sense.
You got to take that beef up with the media. I'm not the media.
No, I know, but same with many blacks and all kinds of stuff. And I'm talking about the world at large, meaning the people in the world. We have that issue, and you're like I said, you're blind to it.
And that's cool. You can call me blind. I would say that you're wrong. I think that if somebody is anti-Derek Chauvin, that doesn't mean that they're anti-white.
Oh.
You don't. You think that
Yeah, they are.
somebody's anti-Derek Chauvin.
The only reason that they would be anti-Derek Chauvin.
You think somebody's anti-Derek Chauvin that they're exhibiting anti-whiteness around the world.
Not necessarily.
That's what you said. That's what you said. That's literally what you said.
No, it isn't.
You told me that the world is more anti-white, and you asked if I see it, and I said no. And I asked you to give me an example. Your example was Derek Chauvin.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that somebody can be anti-Derek Chauvin, think that what he did was wrong, and not apply that to all white people, and now they're all of a sudden anti-white. They could just be anti-Derek Chauvin. Right?
Oh, okay. Well, you can just be stubborn.
You ain't even answer the question. It's
Because
good talking with you, bro. I ain't going to hold up the line.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Ronnie in Ohio. All right. Oh, man. Let's get to Jeff in Louisiana on the line here. Jeff, what's up, man?
Hey, man, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think God was racist?
Yeah. If they want to believe in racism, these people who want to pretend like racism is real, what nature and nature's God is what they call racist, which is to say that different people have different groups have different talents.
The reason I ask is because I was watching this show this morning. That's not hopeful. I don't know if you guys are holding, but that white guy in South Africa said 400 years ago, 16 whatever, his grandfather, great grandparents come over and start building up white people and stuff. And when God made the world, it was separated into colors.
Uh-huh.
Do you think he had a reason for that? I mean, there was a reason. He knew it's going to be the way it is today if they got together.
Interesting.
That's the only point I have. I'm not saying he thought blacks were
The
horrible.
meaning, like, look at the world around us. We have the different races, the different areas where they live, and we have these different cultures among the races and different languages, and that's reality. Why not pay attention to reality and take a cue from reality, present-day reality, and keep it somewhat separate rather than push this diversity mess? Is that what you're saying?
Not trying to make it ugly sounding, but put it this way. God may separate for a reason. He need white people. I dropped my phone.
Nice.
He need white people to be crapping in buckets and white people to be crapping in toilets.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's just, he knew the intelligence levels he set out and what he set people out to do.
Say that one more time.
Like he knew like the intelligence levels he set out people in groups and what they were designed to do.
Yeah.
Like
Like blacks are built for the sun and the fields.
Yeah,
And they can handle it, whereas whites are built for the shade.
Well, I mean, like
and the
white
cooler
people,
areas.
they had the mind. They're designed for the minds to build and develop societies, like the guy in Africa talking about this morning. Build, they went to the desert and made it a town.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you
and that is a talent. And I saw a little documentary on Orania, because JLP had an Orania guest.
Famous one.
Yeah, and those white Afrikaners, some of those men had the sense to build a functioning and thriving community separate from the rest, and it's doing better than the rest of the country.
And if you go watch documentaries on Africa today,
yeah,
people have been there for 2,000 years. What they're doing, eating monkeys.
Yeah, and they're doing just they're happy, fat and sassy doing that.
They're happy with it. They're saying that's where they were alive.
Yep,
it's the way they were born, the way they were raised, the way they built society. They're happy with. They're eating monkeys.
Right.
But
are they really eating monkeys? I guess they do.
Yeah.
I've heard of instances where they eat monkey brains. So whew.
Yeah, they eat brain. Now I've seen whole monkeys that are tearing for teeth.
Say again?
I've seen some whole monkeys. They just fry and snatch their teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
Just eating them.
And
it's just different ways we were built and designed.
I think that there's a lot of help that goes to Africa. In some cases, they don't know about like clean water and stuff like that. Yeah, like different hygiene things and medicine and stuff like that. And a lot of times that food and help is very undermining because it's spoiling and it's also taking away from their own enterprising people to create, grow, manufacture, whatever, and sell to their own fellow countrymen because of all this free stuff that's being given.
That's supposedly where AIDS come from.
AIDS?
Yeah.
Right. I've heard that from like a monkey or something. Yeah, no, there's it's in some cases people say that it's like a distance from God and really it's sort of a distance from nature and nature's God.
Well, I ain't gonna be able to say it on the show, but it wasn't from eating monkeys.
Right, it was from something else. Yeah, I've heard that. The S with animals.
Yeah, I've heard that. But
I've heard that. I don't know. It may or may not be true, but it's basically when you're immoral, when you're immoral and out of control with the sex or the food or the drinking or the other drugs, you're gonna mess up your life.
Well, I guess I ain't gonna say that and talk about that. I wouldn't be know this one, but that's just the thing I was talking about. Is the fact that we were designed and built for different purposes in life.
Yeah.
It's like your economy cars are designed to be cheap on gas.
Yeah.
Your sports cars are designed to be fancy and nice and fast. It's just the way you were built.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was talking on this show about it, I'll tell you real quick. There's a guy on YouTube, I don't know if it's a real name or not, but called Dr. T.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I'm watching one of the old black guy with glasses, and he said something that really shivers up you. The white people are losing all empathy and compassion for blacks. Then you'll know what racial oppression are.
Yeah, I know, because they're crying about oppression, and really they're just oppressed in their own minds right now. It's not by anybody, especially not anybody white.
The new thing I want about is these people are going to, even a lot of black folks are making this video talking about black fatigue. White people are tired of it. It's called black fatigue.
Yeah, right.
I seen a video
They're sick of
last
them.
night. A girl come on there and said black fatigue, in other words, they colonized from us.
Right. Why do they're sick of us? They think that they're fatigued by the whites?
No, we took the word white fatigue. They use it for something else to mean something good.
Oh, okay.
Like all other words they use.
Yeah.
Whatever they say, man, it's like, y'all stole the English language from us. Y'all colonized it.
Just a whole bunch of finger pointing and blaming and crying and never. It's like my conversation with Ronnie, but less civilized and less decent. Just a whole lot of a lack of understanding. What a mess.
Man, see, that's the thing is, though, your Ronnie guy seems pretty nice, but the problem I have with people like him is he calls in about the black stuff, trying to talk about the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And things we're complaining about, we're always talking about black people and trying to justify the reason they think the way they do because we don't think about them good. No, we're tired of hearing y'all whine and complain.
He sounded like he needs me to acknowledge the supposed past black plight or maybe current black plight in order for him to acknowledge the white plight, which doesn't make any sense. But he thinks he's being logical.
It's like y'all weren't the first people to be put in slavery.
Yeah.
White people were. It was one of the Slavs called slavery comes to the Slavs. They were putting up slavery first.
Yeah.
But then that's the point is like, okay, y'all brought over here, y'all gonna put in slavery. Okay, fine. We're bad. My bad. Y'all gonna put in slavery. Okay. Well, now we've done everything we've done to give y'all billions and trillions of dollars to build neighborhoods, to get education, to get training, to get everything else. And you posed a question last week of what happened if all the whites disappeared.
I think it was a couple weeks ago or a few, but yeah.
Rim shops go through the roofing business and everything else go to hell.
You can see it happening already. The country is like, it's falling apart.
You know what I'm saying? People like tires and rim shops, their business be through the roof, but everything else just disappear because that's all they worry about, tires and rims and crap like that.
Yeah.
And the second way, it's not black people. It's ninjas.
Right.
I mean, there's good black people out there. Ronnie sounds like he could be one of them.
Right, but he still has that mindset, that ninja mindset where he can do what they call intellectual somersaults, mental gymnastics. They call it mental ninjutsu, where you call it something. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to hurry up so I don't hold you up.
Cool.
Between the whites and blacks, there's 4 groups. There's white people, there's white people, there's black people, there's white trash, and there's ninjas. 2 of the 4 aren't good.
Yeah. No one is good though. And that's why you can nitpick and point out the bad in Hake, the bad in Ronnie, the bad in Jeff. And meanwhile, we're all like relatively decent compared to some of these people. But we're still evil.
Okay, let's say 2 of the 4 are not productive to society.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of bad, they're not productive to society.
Yeah.
They take more to give.
Yeah.
But man, I'll let you go, man. I can hold you up. I know y'all like calls.
Right on, man. Appreciate you. Take care, Jeff.
Well, have a good one, man.
Bye. And Mark in Los Angeles, California, is on the line over here. Mark, what's up, man?
I just hope you give me half the time you gave Ronnie. Just half. I'll settle for half.
Well, you'll have to settle for whatever I give you.
First of all,
for your own sake.
You don't debate very well. You don't debate very
I wasn't
well.
debating.
Well, he was trying to get you to answer a basic question that if you had let me on, I told the screener that I wanted to talk to this guy.
Yeah, but you don't run the show. I run the show.
I know you do, but you agreed with me that you would allow me to debate with this guy.
No,
That's
I didn't.
What you said.
No, I didn't. I heard you, and I said okay. I didn't say, yes, I will do what you say, Mark, you complainer.
Well, just say no then.
I don't have to.
Well, okay, then fine. Your show, you want to play commie? When you said
You call
were
it
a commie
commie? You call it
sympathizer-
commie for me to run my own show as I see fit in the moment?
No, when you censor white folk.
I'm not censoring white folk.
Yeah, you hung up on me yesterday like a coward.
No, because
me
you were
say this.
promoting something like a snake.
A dead man.
So
A
what?
dead
You were
man.
promoting.
I'm not making a dime off it, and neither was he.
It doesn't matter. You're
Okay.
promoting. It's
okay.
It's not just about money. You snake.
Uh-huh. No, I
Why
don't agree at
why are
all.
you being all aggressive and angry?
Because I wanted to get in with this guy, Ronnie. You can't even debate worth
I'm
a
not
crap.
debating him. I'm just
Well, okay,
asking him if he
whatever.
sees and he doesn't see.
No,
and I
you
try to
didn't
give
answer
him a
the
little bit
question.
of an example, and he
Okay,
doesn't. He
let
wants
me
to change
say
the
this.
subject. So why do I
Okay.
have to debate when I'm not
okay,
interested in
drop-
debating?
Let's drop debate.
Yeah.
He asked you a question, and you didn't give a decent answer. He said, "What would happen if whites disappeared?" That's the easiest question. We have history.
I
to
already
show.
answered it. I said it's.
No,
you can
didn't.
see
You
it
brought
already
up
that it's in
Derek
tatters.
Chauvin. You're a poor debater, Hake.
I wasn't
That's
debating.
why you won't let me on the show. Because if
I wasn't
get a hold of
debating,
Ronnie,
Mark.
I'll make a monkey
Mark.
out of him.
Mark, you're making a monkey out of yourself. I
No,
wasn't
I'm not.
debating.
I'm exposing you. You said a month ago.
Oh, you're exposing
you
me.
were sympathetic to communism. Well, you served them well. You
That's dumb.
served them well.
You're sympathetic to communism,
No, you're the one that said it. I didn't say it. You said it.
but you're
And I'm
sympathetic to
agreeing with
communism.
you, and you showed and you served them well.
But you're being
Okay.
you're being petty.
No, I'm not. I'm throwing your words back at you.
But you don't make any
Okay?
sense.
What do you mean? You said it.
Right, because but you're helping communism by being angry.
No way.
Yeah,
no
huh?
connection
Yeah,
at
way.
all.
Yeah, huh?
No. Okay. Furthermore, I wanted to talk about this.
Okay.
There's a trend going on that your audience should know about. There's in
See,
nursing
all you
homes-
ever do, you call in to debate, to promote something.
I'm
You
just
don't love
warning-
me. You don't love my show. You don't support me.
Well,
You
now
don't
you're
support
putting
my
words in
show.
my mouth.
You don't support Bond. You don't support
you-
Jesse. You just
How do
want to
you know?
promote your mess.
No, I'm basically
Yeah.
echoing what you people say. I'm only trying to help you out.
No, you're
you
not.
can't even debate.
You're
a
not
low
trying to
IQ
help
guy.
me.
Oh yeah.
Can you
if
get
you're
it?
letting
Can
me
you
on
get
the
it
show-
through your thick skull that I'm not trying to debate?
Well, why didn't you answer the question that he posed?
I answered his
It
question.
makes you look. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I could have had a million answers. Well, we have to, Ronnie, if you're listening,
Bye. Phony snake fake friend. Bye, Mark. I answered his question. He said, what would happen if whites disappeared? It would fall into tatters, as you can see plainly already. Mark is an example of whites disappearing. There is no white. There is no. Where is the white sense? Being sensible. Well, there goes Mark as a caller. Oh, you think he won't call back anymore? Maybe not. Good riddance to bad rubbish. A fake friend. I'm not going to ban him. Ban him and Ronnie. Man, oh man. We're at the top of the hour, guys. I gave too much time to Ronnie, so I had to take away from Mark. Because don't I have the right to do what I want with my time on my show? Yes, I have the right. Mark in Los Angeles, call another day when you're calmer and not trying to expose Hake. He hates you, Hake. I know he does. He's a hate-filled person. Just like the blacks eat the blacks, whom he's thinking that he's better than. He's being an underminer. But yeah, as like Jesus said in the thingy, in that parable, a man hired one group, they worked all day. And then he hired another group, they worked half a day. And then they hired another group. This man hired another group, and they worked 1 hour, and they all got paid the same. They all got paid the same. And the people who had worked all day, they had agreed to get paid that much. And then they started grumbling because they got paid last after all the people got the same pay right in front of them. They're thinking, oh, we're going to get paid more. Mark comparing his plight to Ronnie's plight. I hope I get half the time. You don't get even a 10%. Anyway, let me talk to Robert in Kansas on the line over here. Robert in Kansas, thanks for calling. What's up, man?
Oh, hey, man, don't hang up, okay? I'm driving, but I'm parking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm about to park. Yeah, Mark got you, bro. Dang, dude.
How'd he get me?
Exposed.
Exposed, yeah, he totally did. I'm a commie.
Hey.
I'm a commie because I run my show how I want.
How long have I been saying it?
People who listen can tell that Ronnie is blind, he's stubborn, you can't see. And I'm not about debating, because debating is dumb.
Well, Ronnie's black, so you gotta,
But he's worse than black, he's intellectual.
I'm just trying to be funny. I try to be as racist as I can.
Oh, yeah. But blacks can see. Even a black can see if you just get them to calm down and admit reality. But I don't know if Ronnie can even admit reality in his calm moments. Because I've talked to fat Mexican gals, and they're like, we blacks and Mexicans, we tend to mess stuff up. The areas.
Speaking of, hey, there's this question, brother, about, okay, what happens if white people disappear? Now, my first question is, okay, do the Jews disappear too? Because that's what we really need to have. Right?
No, we don't. We need that like a hole in the head. We need Jews.
Free the world from satanic slavery? Yeah, that would be
I know, but they're not the only satanic people.
Well, hey, listen, you're probably right, and you probably know things.
Just because they're good at it doesn't mean, which would you rather be run by? Competent satanic people or incompetent satanic people?
I would love for some white people to be in charge and to run America correctly.
I know, but that's not what I asked you. Competent satanic people or incompetent satanic people?
Let's say the white people and the Jews disappeared, right?
Yeah.
What would happen is the Mexicans, this is my bet, the Mexicans in America would take over. Maybe the Asian, it would be a superior race from the black, right? So either Asian or Mexican. My bets are on Mexican. What Mexicans normally do is first of all, they kill all the blacks.
No, I disavow this. But no, I know that's what they're doing. That's what they were, according even to the ADL, they were doing that, or the SPLC. The Mexicans were targeting but don't talk like that, man. This is a children's friendly, family friendly, YouTube friendly show. Stop talking about killing.
Ask them what would happen. So if the Asians,
I know, but just drop that part.
You notice how there's no blacks in Asia, right? Like you guys noticed that.
There are. They love Dennis Rodman.
Okay, so the whites go away. Their protection of the blacks, I think, is gone. The whites are the ones that are so fooled in the sense that they're slave masters or whatever. So the Asians, the Mexicans, are not going to care. They'd eat them if they had to. I mean, they're just going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so. Yeah, that's my thought. But I don't know. Who knows what would happen? Maybe the blacks would rule America. I just feel like
I don't think so.
It would be like South Africa, and you couldn't get electric or water services for half the day. And, that goes on long enough, man. I mean, things break down,
True. And that's what's happening already. Don't you see that's what's happening already?
Well, yeah.
With the flights, for example, the flights are a mess.
You got to go outside a barn out there in the front and just pick up all the litter.
Yeah. The homeless
off.
bums being allowed to take over.
Get the water hose out and spray the homeless down. But hey, get. And then
No,
you
you don't have.
sidewalk.
No water hose needed. I disavow water hoses unless it's used on rioters. I support that, but you don't need a water hose necessarily for the homeless. You just need to tell them to get moving, and make them leave.
They giving them a bath too.
No, they got to get their own bath.
Their own bath. Okay. All right, Hake. All right, man. Well, what else? I was going to talk about Mark. Mark, yeah, dude. I just think Mark is, an older guy. You know that guy Alan too. I want to mention him. Alan is an older man than us.
Yeah, right.
And I really like the stuff that he talks about. And I think he's very experienced and very calm. Obviously, he's been through more life than I have.
Yeah.
But I just like how he talks, and he mentions me too. He's like, yeah, I want Robert to come on and talk about Jews and stuff. And it's like, well, Hake doesn't like that very much.
Yeah,
so,
we have to keep it friendly for the censorship and stuff like that.
Well, keep blaming white people. You got to figure out where that's coming from eventually, guys. I mean, who's teaching you to blame white people? Someone's doing that, and it ain't the blacks.
Oh, yeah, it is.
All right, hey. All right, brother.
All right, good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, what did you have a question about flat Earth or anything?
No, not today.
All right, man.
Yeah, take care, man. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Shout out to the older people. Mark is an older guy. I don't know how much older than me he is. And Alan, an older guy. He says that he's like 80. Alan in Michigan. Anyway, I have some super chats to read and more calls to get to and news if I ever get to it. Okay. Oh, right on. Thank you, man. Let me check over on Streamlabs just in case. Oh, sure enough, Lin Yan Chin says, why don't you explain to Jesse the nature of sequential emergence in organ forming and function to convert electromagnetic impulse born of the heart as emotion and then converted to thought via brainwave interface with said emotion. Thought is emotion, says Lin Yan Chin. Oh, thought is emotion, says Lin Yan Chin. Interesting. Before, you used to say thought comes from emotion. Emotion comes first, thought claimed Lin Yan Chin. And I'm not going to support you in that argument. I don't know about it. I don't know biology as much as you, man. Organ forms and functions and converts electromagnetic impulse born of the heart as emotion. Did you know though that perhaps you're thinking about in the moment right here. Let's say you're ignoring prior traumas and prior assumptions and thoughts. Because you already had these prior assumptions and thoughts, that's why it's like, it seems like the emotion precedes. But I don't know if you're basing it on experience. A lot of people have the emotion before they realize that they had the thought. And that's because, according to Jesse, that they didn't catch the thought that preceded the emotion. For example, somebody says something to you, that's a thought. They fed to you. And you had a pre-existing thought about that thought or emotion toward that thought because you'd already had those thoughts. So you have a head full of thoughts, which are emotions, according to Lin Yan Chin. And that's fair. Whatever. I don't get your beef with Jesse on the thoughts versus emotions thing, Lin Yan Chin. I find it interesting, though, that this thoughts and emotions thing. Let's say Hake has an insecurity about his gray on his beard, thinks it's ugly, let's say. Picking something that's not true, right? I don't know, it's not good to, I don't like picking stuff that's not true. Let's say blacks have this brainwashing against whites and against cops, and they hear something, and without knowing the story, they judge. They, for example, like Ronnie in Ohio. Here's a good example. Ronnie in Ohio heard that Derek Chauvin had his knee on the neck of Derek Chauvin, which is a debatable statement. It's debatable. And that contributed to George Floyd's death. I may have mixed up my names, I forget. And so he hasn't watched the video, he refused. And I understand that. I've refused to watch a lot of these videos. Only recently, and when I say recently, like a year ago, I finally watched the full video of when they first encountered him, brought him out, and he was acting all crazy, and then he went into the one side and exited the other, asked to be put on the ground, said he couldn't breathe before he was even on the ground, as I recall. Without watching the video, he's assuming, like so many are, based on insufficient data, that Derek Chauvin was wrong and guilty of murder. That was not an example of, because it's a white cop on a black guy, the media, the BLM, and the feel sorry for people went extra sorry and extra white guilty and extra anti-white. He went with assumption because he has a bias and he doesn't realize it. A bias meaning a pre-existing assumption. Prideful judgment. The prideful want to judge and dismiss without knowing the truth. So maybe, I don't know, you might be right, Lin Yin-Chin. It's interesting, I guess. How you doing, Lin Yin-Chin? What's up, man? Thanks, as always, for the support. For you, for me, for Jesse, for the others. That's cool. I have quite a few over here, actually. Super chats. Thank you, guys. On buymeacoffee.com/the Hake Report. Wow, wow, wow. Popcorn says, I can recall several times where you've expressed being against both illegal and legal immigration. And us taking in refugees. Yeah, you use the term so-called refugees. Yeah, because they've muddied the waters so badly that we don't know if they're actually refugees or not. They're trying to call people asylum seekers, pleading asylum to claim refugee status, but they're crossing illegally. And so I say so-called refugees. And in many cases, like that woman, Somalian woman, Ilhan Omar, she would be what I call a so-called, or was what I call a so-called refugee. Because what business does she have being brought here? What business did America have bringing her here at the age of 12 or 13 from where she was already a refugee in Kenya from Somalia, because Somalia had some trouble, war, whatever. And so she's a so-called refugee, and then she turned into a mess. More generally, you tend not to make a distinction, he says, and use the blanket term illegals. Right, and I use the term illegals because it's when they're illegal. They come here illegally. Well, Mark told you the first wave of refugees from South Africa had arrived. You went, nice, indeed. So my question is, why the change of heart? I had no change of heart. Why are you suddenly for the country taking in refugees, valid refugees? And what is it about them that doesn't make them illegals? Because they didn't come in here illegally and try to plead asylum. Gaming the system of asylum and gaming the system of how we handle illegals, gaming the system of the courts and crap. It was brought in justly by our greatest president amid what he called a genocide, which I don't tend to use that word, but it's an attack definitely on whites in South Africa, just as it is here in America, only in South Africa it's worse and more desperate and more out in the open even than in here, if you can believe it. It's quite out in the open here. I don't understand exactly, except for stubborn blindness or something, trolling maybe, of Ronnie. Can't acknowledge it. Anyway, is it because you've determined they are legitimately trying to flee? F-L-E-E, not F-L-E-A. That's the bug. Fleas bite. Flee from a bad situation in the country that they live? Yeah, definitely. This strikes me as a classic example of a standard, I'm against X, being the standard until it's not. No, man, they came in here by way of the proper, they were vetted to, it wasn't just any white South African. It wasn't just it was selective. And they presented wasn't it beautiful? I think I might have those. Let me show you guys the South Africans that came in here. They weren't just they were actually actual families. Let's see over here. Hake. Is that me? The Hake report? Do I have saved? What did I do? I don't understand this thing. Let's see here. Yeah, here's some of these refugees. They're holding American flags, smiling white children, sensible looking, and let's hear. Let me turn down the volume. And I get that this is PR, right? Because you have to make sure that they look good. See?
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. A lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have
Boers. This came from the State Department, so it's government propaganda. But let's hear it. When you have
quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom.
So they're going to be contributors.
Will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will benefit alongside you.
I hope you're right. From the U.S. Department of State. Nice, for once, right? There they are again. Blah, 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 blah. I think I might have it in my likes as well. Go away, I'm done with you. Go back over here. In my likes. Dude, can we now stop calling black people born in America African Americans? Yes, please. Lord have mercy. South African asylum seekers. They're not just asylum seekers, they got asylum. They're not MS-13 gang bangers flooding the United States with machetes and dope. They have legitimate asylum claims, fleeing real persecution, and they were flown here. They didn't come here out of order. What does kill the Boer mean? Asks Hisayo Nakai, because that guy, Pieter Kriel, pardon me if I don't know how to say your name, because I don't. So nice, right on. Did I retweet anything? I might not have. I might not have. It's not, I might not of. I might not have. So let me finish the coffee. So to be clear, you aren't against the country taking in refugees, right? Right. Because it's about the quality of the refugee and the sense that in which they are legitimate refugees. And you don't consider the refugees from South Africa to be illegals because they came here legally. Because you agree with them being granted refugee status. Break it down if you can. Yeah, they didn't come here out of order like these illegals do. And then they present themselves, I want to plead asylum. I call illegals what they are, illegals. I wasn't calling a bunch of refugees illegals. You've never heard me call Ilhan Omar an illegal. I called her a so-called refugee. I think is it all clear to go back to Somalia now? Why don't you go back? Because she wants to take advantage of America. And she wants to change America for the worse. She's anti-white. She's anti-Christian too, by the way. Nice. I want to read some more of these super chats, guys, before I get back to the calls. LYC on thoughts and emotions. Popcorn and SA refugees. Nice. So I don't want to call him obtuse, but he reminds me of like Ronnie in Ohio. These people who think they're so smart. Shout out. Cesar, thanks for correcting and / educating me yesterday. It's easier for me to read these on the right here. Yesterday, facilitate is the proper word. My bag, I'm Dominican and slow. Let me ask, since you seem to be knowledgeable on the subject of the government in this country facilitated the destruction of the black family rather than caused. Right? Because people contribute to their own destruction, which contributed to the current situation. What's the excuse of blacks in South Africa these days? They've been communists for years, decades. A mess. Those blacks in South Africa. Many of them communist, some of them more functional than others. It seems to be that the original tribes who were there, because there were some tribes that, worked with the white South Africans who, lived with them for a bit. They seem nicer, unless I'm wrong, the minority black tribes. They seem nicer than the majority black communists, is just my general impression without even being able to give an example or any stats, of course. So I could be completely wrong. But there's blacks, and all the blacks are a bunch of different blacks. And then there's coloreds, the mixed. And I don't know. But they're communists, they're brainwashed with the fake racism thing. Because South Africa, since I was a kid, I remember seeing Lethal Weapon 2? Danny Glover. No, it's not Danny Glover. Whatever that guy's name is. Is it Danny Glover? I'm mixing him up with that songwriter, singer guy. Yeah, Danny Glover. Is Donald Glover the kid, Childish Gambino? Yeah, not to be confused with Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. Danny Glover, 78-year-old, 6'4" actor / lame-o activist. He had something about end apartheid. And, I heard from one of my callers yesterday, it was a great call, that apartheid was kind of unfair, evil or something. I don't know, maybe. But it's been replaced with something worse. It's been replaced by something worse. It's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, nice. Do. And they've been brainwashed. The whole mainstream media, international media, international politics did a pressure campaign to turn South Africa from white run and sensible to anti-white run in the name of equality, which is, there's no such thing. Communism. What a mess, huh? And there was probably a whole bunch of facilitation of the, there is no excuse for blacks either way. Nice. Someone says, hey, Hake, and he gives me a tip. Jonathan from Northern Ireland. He says the earth may or may not be flat, disc, or pancake shaped. I think that you can say, leave it as may not be, or is not. There's parts of the earth that are flat-ish, disc-ish, and pancake-shaped-ish areas. And the whole rest of it, but if you take it all in whole, it's a big, beautiful globe. It actually is a little bit oblong, I've heard. A little bit egg-shaped. Egg-shaped. This is too confusing for me to do, guys. Chris bought a coffee. Ronnie in Ohio is using my favorite collar over 3 black cops literally beat a man to death and go off with no charges. Please explain to me how Derek, D-E-R-E-K, all Dereks are not spelled the same. You spelled it like our producers spelled D-E-R-E-K, Chauvin, Chavin, C-H-A-U-V-I-N, I think. Thank you, Chris. I think he's Italian. Playing around. Wasn't wrongfully convicted. Double standard. Oh, yeah, those 3 black cops. Well, there were 5 black cops. 2 of them two of them in Memphis. 2 black cops pleaded guilty. 3 black cops pleaded innocent, and they were considered innocent by the state. Or, you know, they, whatever. Yeah, Chris, not guilty. Whoa, Cesar with another coffee. Let me go back to this. You guys are putting mess over here. Cesar says, here's my anti-white world examples for Ronnie. On the recent Piers Morgan episode with blah, 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 the word N-word kept getting censored, but not the word or Uncle Tom, by the way. Kyle Rittenhouse was demonized by the media for protecting businesses and himself that night, yep. Kamala being able to campaign using her blackness to gain black voters using the whole identifying as the black thing. But if Trump did that, it would be considered racist. There's many more, but Ronnie, you have to be honest and seek the truth in all forms, says Cesar. Says Cesar. Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-bogglingly obvious. But if you don't have the open mind or eyes to see, you cannot see. With he who has ears to hear, let him hear, as Jesus said. Let me double check on Rumble. What's up, Rumble crew? Pilled. I already did the CashApp and other platforms. Jim in Alaska says, oh no, I already said that. Yeah. Let me get to Manuel in California on the line over here. Manuel, thanks for calling and holding. What's up?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Nice. The whole conversation you and Ronnie were having, I just want to put a little 2 cents in on that.
Okay, yeah.
You ever heard of the movie Adolescent?
No, but I've heard of the term adolescent.
Oh, there's a thing on Netflix, Adolescent. It's about a white kid that kills people or something like that.
Yeah.
Based on a story of a black kid.
Oh, really?
And they just switched the character to a white
Oh,
one
that's
instead.
like a TV show. I have heard of that.
I don't know if that's anti-white, and I don't know if Netflix is worldwide.
Yeah.
But I would assume Netflix is worldwide, and that's kind of anti-white.
Yeah, so you know, every movie, every TV show does that. There's this TV show about like crime unit or something like one of the some of these cop shows, police TV shows, very popular trend over the past 20 years or so. And they always have it's rarely the black guy. It's a white guy who does some of these nasty crimes. And then sometimes they'll say, "Oh, it was a black guy," but it wasn't a black guy, it was a white guy. And they're always coming up with whites doing these crazy crimes when it's usually actually not. Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is because they're always, they complain about there's no people of color in acting and all this and that. They don't get the main roles. Well, then there's an actual story of a black person, and they don't pick a black person to play that role. I wonder why.
Because they want to be
anti-white.
They want to cover up the truth. They are. It's a mess. They hate whites.
Or not Snow White, Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a worldwide movie too.
Right.
South Africa is a perfect example of other places outside of the U.S.
Very
Australia,
anti-white.
they're going after the whites there.
Yeah.
Not as bad as South Africa, but it's coming the same way. Europe is no longer a white nation.
Canada.
That's completely dismantled. Canada is just a joke.
Yep.
Excuse me, sorry. So there's plenty of anti-white out there, I mean, I'll even argue the point that civil rights is anti-white.
Yeah, of
because
course.
all it pretty much did was give the ability, besides taking away private rights and property, but it also gives a chance for double jeopardy. Civil rights has never been used for, well, I can't say that.
Oh, so that the federal government can go after you in addition to the state government.
Right.
For supposed crimes.
Right.
Yep.
But you don't ever really see the civil rights being used towards white people. It's always used for black people against white people usually.
On the big big stage, yeah. Now there are what's interesting, and it's not publicized, the fake idea of hate crimes, the misguided notion of hate crimes. Blacks are disproportionately found guilty of hate crimes compared to their share of the population. They commit more hate crimes per capita.
There's some girl,
but there's no such thing. Yeah, go ahead.
There was a girl that kidnapped a white kid and burned him or something like that, or stabbed him too. They didn't take that as a hate crime.
Right. No, they the knockout game. The only instance where it's been pursued as a hate crime is when a white did it to a black.
Right.
Because the white guy was not slick. He said the whole N-word. And before punching a black old guy. Shameful. But Eric Holder's Department of Justice went after that guy and looked the other way with all the black on white crime.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but that whole George Floyd thing, they said on the autopsy report something about the way that the wording when they drew blood meant that he was still alive when he got there.
Oh, interesting.
Have you heard about that? Or
I would assume that he was still alive at that point.
Right. But I don't know what they mean by alive, as in a coma alive or actually alive, but
yeah.
The way it's worded, it's not as if it was deceased and they drew blood.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say that he was alive, but I'm pretty sure that kind of got over exaggerated,
Yeah.
Same thing with Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony. That father is actually pretty smart. He's probably a little bit, I don't even want to say beta. I'll just leave it at that. He's pretty smart because he did exactly what Carmelo Anthony did, but didn't stab him when he was asked to leave.
What do you mean by that? You're talking about You're talking about Austin Metcalf's father did this.
Right.
He did the same thing that Carmelo Anthony did, but of course didn't stab him. What did he do? Explain.
Didn't he show up somewhere where he wasn't invited and was asked to leave and walked out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He showed up. he showed up at a press conference for the Carmelo Anthony so-called family, and he was asked to leave. He was escorted out, and he peacefully left.
Right. He didn't stab anybody.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
And he probably had the right to be there because you don't have to be invited to a press conference to show up to a press conference.
Just like Carmelo Anthony probably had the right to be there too, but he was asked to leave.
Yeah.
That guy's pretty smart that he did that because it shows, like, look, there's different ways of handling this situation. You guys asked me to leave, and I left.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that'll ever get played out in the courtroom, but I figured that'd be an easy way to prove, like, look, I walked out. I didn't stab nobody.
Right.
I didn't take out my vengeance on you guys for killing my child.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, my son and your son may have had a beef back in the day or whatever, but you see, I didn't take it to an extreme.
And you know what? He came in peace. He
Right,
wanted
and
to.
I'm sure
I think he said he wanted to pray with them, with the family.
Right.
And that's so Christian and show of unity, Christian-y Christian type thing. And it's a contrast between the white seeking peace, whether you agree with his tactic or not, and his spirit. You know, without calling him beta, he was seeking peace, whereas Carmelo was not seeking peace.
Right. He was just. I'm sure Carmelo like didn't mean to like step in there and whatever happened like because of the rain situation, but the way he handled it was pretty well. You know, like he lost his kidney. He went in there and just was calm and cool and collected about it and just walked out. You know.
Yeah. They accused him of being what they are, which is disrespectful. You know, the minister or whatever, black dude, who has been the loudmouth in this situation. He called Austin's dad disrespectful, which was being disrespectful toward Austin's dad. Crazy.
They're also going to let Carmelo Anthony still walk the line for his high school graduation.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I get it, you know, he's out on bail so that you can do as you please. Not do as you please on bail, but like, oh no, he's on house arrest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't be able to do that. But anyways, they're going to let him do that.
And that's because of white guilt.
That's not right, and that's not anti-white propaganda. But you know, most people that are arrested do not get these freedoms. You know, he's underage, cool, whatever. They might let him slide because of that.
That's called kissing up to the blacks.
Right, that's some type of preferential treatment. You know.
Yep.
Terrible.
Nice.
Right on. That's all I had, Hank.
It's great to hear from you, man. Cool insight.
You too.
All right. Bye. Maze from the sundown town of Dayton, Ohio. Beautiful Maze, my favorite caller. How you doing?
Hello, James.
Hey.
Why people get so upset just because you and Ronnie was having a conversation and he wanted to see what you was thinking and you told him what he was thinking. He told you what he was thinking and you told him what you were thinking. So what's wrong with these people, these hierarchies? They're getting upset. I mean, like, y'all just having a decent conversation.
I can relate to it.
Why can't they? How can you teach them to relate to things and stop screaming and hollering and want to tear the wall down and calling it everything except a conversation?
Mark identifies with me because I'm white.
Oh, that's what I know.
And so he thinks that I should
be like him.
He thinks that I should give him my platform to pounce down Ronnie's throat because Ronnie has expressed interest in being okay with debating him, and they want to debate each other on my show and whatever. And if I don't really necessarily want to do that sometimes, because Mark has crossed the line and shown a lot of disrespect towards me and the show and things over recent days and months, and so I didn't want to do it. But I totally get hearing a host miss or not say some obvious things that are so obvious to you and you would say, but that is called playing God.
But James,
yeah.
The black people don't disrespect you like that.
Yeah, they do.
Only people you find like that is Mark.
But
Calling you all kind of
but that's
names and
because Mark is Mark.
whack.
You know, it's just like how it's kind of like how you treat Rick and
Well, I'm saying
others.
Rick is a different situation.
Right, because you identify with being black, and you think that Rick should be better as a black. Mark
No.
thinks that I should be better as a white.
No, that's not what I think about Rick. You got that wrong. See,
What do you think of Rick?
I think, and not put
Why?
what
I
you
don't know
think.
why I did that.
That's what I'm thinking. It's a whole different situation.
It's similar though, because anytime a black,
embarrassing.
is he embarrassing, right? Did
Rick
you say?
is embarrassing.
Yeah, that's how Mark thinks of me. He's embarrassed and he's angry.
No. He wants you to be like him.
Right.
That's his problem.
And
He
you
wants
want Rick to be like you.
I don't want Rick to be like me.
Yeah,
I want Rick to report. I mean, he acts as if black people are the only people that do stuff wrong.
No, he doesn't.
He can't see it that everybody around him do things wrong.
But
That's why I
he
got a
doesn't
problem
think
with Rick.
he doesn't
And you-
assume that.
Anybody else that think like him?
No, you're assigning that. Rick knows that everybody does wrong.
No, he don't.
Yeah, he
No,
does.
he don't.
Yeah, he do.
Yeah, he confused me if that's what he thinks. And also, and then another thing.
Yeah.
I can tell your mother taught you manners because you would never call a woman a bitch.
Oh, that's what you think. I said that's what you think.
Know it, but when the person
I
that you
wouldn't.
call
I would hopefully not say it on air in a flash of anger on air.
That's why I say your mother taught you better.
You could say
and
my
then if
mother
you don't
traumatized me.
Tell you like this.
I don't know if my mother really. I don't know. It was
No, you can
considered a
tell
bad
by
word.
you can the way some people sound.
So
and the things that they
you are
feel.
praising my mother, calling.
But I'm not praising your mother. I'm praising you for having sense to not do that.
But is JLP wrong for saying the B word on B words?
Is he what?
Is Jesse wrong for calling a B word a B word?
Well, no, he's not right about doing it.
No, is he wrong though?
Did he have any manners?
Back in the good old days, the B word.
If you talk right, you don't do that.
No, listen, Maze.
What?
Okay. Ignore whether it's right or wrong to say it. How is best to take it? If you're called a bad word and you're called this bad word, quote unquote, because you're acting wrong. If you take that, no, hold on. Let me finish my question because I'm trying. I know I'm being wordy and long.
Mm-hmm.
Say somebody calls Hake a B word, and what's better for me to overreact to them, or to be quiet in stunned silence and accept the correction? Is it better for me to accept the correction in stunned silence? Or is it better for me to overreact to the B word?
It's better for you to think.
Yeah, see? And so
If you're not
in
thinking,
the good old days...
manners, you don't do that.
In the good old
People
days...
with no manners will do that.
I know, but in the good old days, the B word was a correcting word, and women took it as correction rather than to overreact and get worse and become even more of a B word.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't thought anybody could be one of those words. I didn't know it just had to be pertaining to a woman.
Oh, men can be that too, I suppose, but...
Thank you. But when you find people calling people stuff like that...
You're changing the subject. You remind me of Ronnie.
What do you mean?
Men are B words too, says Maze. Blacks are victims too, says Ronnie. Therefore, I can't acknowledge that whites are being mistreated.
No, that's not what I'm saying, James. You're putting words in my mouth that I'm not.
I know, but isn't it better to be? It's better to stop and think.
It's better to stop and think, and while you're thinking, you should be wondering that am I saying something that make any sense, or am I just saying something because society got me saying it?
Right.
Or am I following society, or am I following my heart and my mind?
Yeah.
So if you're doing those things, you don't care what society got to say.
That's
what
true.
you're thinking for yourself. Or am I trying to be like everybody else?
Yeah.
If you're not a follower, you don't follow the rhythm.
I'm not a follower. That's why I love the Jews.
Really?
Yeah.
If you love them, that's good for you.
Yeah. See? Thank you.
And for somebody that don't, that's good for them.
Right.
They have the right to.
That's right.
But I'm saying, and now I want to have one more question for you.
Yep.
Those people that came here yesterday on a flight with American tax dollars.
Yeah,
what are they gonna do with them?
the beautiful refugees.
What are they going to do with them?
Nothing. They're gonna do for themselves.
How? Did they come with money?
No, but they came with know-how to make a job and make a life and be civilized.
Well, you got American citizens. They won't even give jobs and taking jobs away from them. I don't understand.
Good.
Could you explain it?
Because to him who has, more will be given. But from him who does not have, even what he thinks he has will be taken from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's in the Bible. It's a fact.
So the little group that they brought over here, I wonder what the purpose was for bringing them here.
Oh, to save them
and who's going to take care of them?
To save them from oppression.
They're going to be getting welfare too.
No, they will not get any welfare.
Well, they got welfare. They came on a state plane.
I know, but that's
for that. They started off with it.
I know, but they're going to pay back in dividends. We
get rid of some people.
Sometimes you buy seeds to plant seeds, and then they blossom, and you get more. You get more from the flower seeds that you bought than you paid.
I'm saying, but they're going to get money from the government already.
Oh no, but they're going to give back money to the government and be contributors rather than takers.
No, they're going to be takers.
Well, time will tell.
Already started off. Initially, they starting off as takers.
I know, but that's fine.
And then everybody should have the same freedom. If they got the freedom to come over here to do what they're doing,
Maze.
Some are born in this country and they're trying to send them back.
Lin Yan Chin wants your feedback. Can I read my super chats from him to you?
Sure, no problem.
Thought is born of emotion, but it is emotion in the sense that a painted portrait is just paint, but it's also a portrait. I'm extremely discerning in every pulse of my biological. I was trained since age 4 to be superior in discernment. Am I Vulcan? He continues, insecurity comes by way of the heart and gut in union as they surge the emotion of discomfort, fraught, panic, and dread. The emotions continue to layer. They nest into a distinct sphere of thought. That is where you detect the thought has formed. Thought then stimulates, I'm almost done, Maze. Thought then stimulates its own growth via its natural gravity, that gathering more emotion to further build upon the thought, to build further upon the thought. Why do you continue to doubt my sapience? I have greater resolution discernment than most. It is only rational. I sense truth, says Lin Yan Chin. Do you agree? What's your thoughts on that, Maze?
What's my thought about that? That's society giving thought to people that don't if you got a heart and you believe in righteousness, that will carry you through to everybody. With matter color, size, still your heart. And it said, love thy enemy as thyself.
Nice.
And if you don't love yourself, you can't love your enemy.
So do you love the wigger?
Who? Of course. Yes, I do. Even if they're evil.
Sorry, man.
I like evil people, too.
Nice.
I have to like what they're doing, but I can still like them.
Oh.
That's the problem. Yes. Can you like a person and not like what they're doing?
Right on.
That's when it comes to Caucasians.
Love never fails.
And that's what you always want to throw on the black people. And
Shout
that's
out.
Rick. That's what I get out of Rick. So you have a nice day.
Thank you, Maze.
Your mother did and your father did well.
Right on. That's
when it comes to you using your brain. Think for yourself. Don't be a follower.
Okay. Sweet.
You
Thanks,
will
Maze.
lead the cavalry.
Take care, Maze.
Maybe they have one. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Okay. Man, oh man, oh man. Justin in California. Real quick, man, if you can. I want to try to do lightning rounds. Can you give me 1 minute?
1 minute? All right, here we go. Have you heard that Section 8's going away?
Nice. I had not heard that.
Yeah, now it's nice and all that, for what it's worth, because there's money to be saved if it's going to be, obviously, with the savings, whatever billions, I think 33 billion, last reported from the Washington Compost, but apparently, but the flip side of it is what our elderly and our, disabled and our most needy, that may need it, okay? they're going to be that were pretty much good till 2030. Now, given about a year to get off of it. So what do you think? Real quick.
I'm for it. I'm for it because Section 8 is redistribution of ghettos.
Wait. 1 second. 1 second.
1 second only.
I just want to know if we have money for the foreigners, why don't we have money for the Americans then?
We should.
Housing shouldn't go to the immigrant hotels. Shouldn't go to the homeless degenerates.
No.
It should go to people in need.
But the homeless.
Is that true?
No, they should be put in forced volunteer work. And
yeah, like community service. Yeah, but I'm saying those that are elderly that can't work or in need that are disabled.
Yeah, those guys are okay.
Preserve at least. Yeah, we should, right?
You might be right, man. It's sort of so
let's
just
get Section
socialism.
9. Let's get Section whatever, but something where a section of our community can get at least the housing they need and not waste the $33 billion we're going to save on some stupid homeless or refugee or immigrant program. Let's get it to our people and do it now.
Thank you, Justin. Take care, man. Appreciate it. All right. I gave him 2 minutes. Jaime in Minnesota on the line here. Jaime, 1 minute for real this time. Go.
What's up? Ronnie's like a groomer. He's trying to groom the way that you're thinking, Hake.
Interesting. Elaborate. Go ahead.
Well, he's saying you gotta give me these certain talking points, not talking points, but you gotta do it by these rules, Hake. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to convince me.
Yeah.
Me as in Ronnie, which is grooming.
Because we can have a whole nother different conversation in terms of about the blacks, but you can't acknowledge I wonder, had I answered, yes, blacks have been mistreated because they're black, if that would have changed his answer, and if so, how? He thinks, but he thinks because I won't acknowledge the black victimhood thing and said, no, I don't know because I'm not thinking about that. I didn't say because I'm not thinking about that. I said, I don't know. But he's thinking that he thinks that debunks the situation and proves that I'm not looking at the right data. Okay, go ahead.
And you weren't debating. You were talking.
Right. I was asking if he sees.
Change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. That's what a debate is.
Right.
You're just talking about ideas.
Right. And does he see? And no, he doesn't see.
No.
Thank you, man. It is interesting. Yeah. He was trying to guide and deviate and misdirect.
See, he's the kind of guy that needs to take the cotton out of his ears and put it in his mouth.
That's right.
Listen.
True.
Just like Maze. All right. Peace.
Thank you, man. All right. Take care. And Christian in Utah, 1 minute. Go ahead. Hey.
I just wanted to get real quick on this. So I've been working on myself and just following Bond and all that.
Yeah.
But I am getting caught up in my head. So I just can't stop smoking pot.
Okay.
Honestly, and but I am practicing my best to stay present and just focus on what's in front of me. But then at the end of the day, it seems like I'm so physically tired, and that takes my physical tiredness and puts it at ease, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know if I should still stick with this, or if I'm just sometimes I hear Jesse say that it's you got to be in this all the way, and you can't be like this or that. And so I'm just getting caught up in my head. Is this something that you would think is for me, or I don't know. I just want your opinion, honestly, Hake. And I do respect you. And
I would say I don't necessarily have any advice for you. I don't necessarily have any advice for you on it. But the Bible says don't lose heart. That's the only advice that I can give. Thank you, Christian. Let's talk again, man. I wish you well.
Thanks, man.
Night times are dangerous. Take care. Bye. And guys, no ending music, and the rest of the callers and super chatters, I got to get out of here. Joel Friday TV coming up next. Peace in the Middle East, or at least in your hearts. Take care.